They used one when they came to our office to try to make sure there's no fire in the
Right,
walls.
exactly.
So
cool. Obviously that kind of picture is something familiar then. Yep. So you should be able to see me. I'm the orange, red, and yellow guy. It actually work here. That means I'm the hottest thing inside the picture. So that's how that goes. I get bridal parties and bachelorette parties, and it kills. So as long as they're not too wasted, it kills. But anyway, we're looking for blue and black spots with this. So those are going to be the colder areas. Now the other thing in there is there's a blue dot that's bouncing around in there. I'll kind of put it off to the side. The blue dot is set up to find the coldest spot in the frame at the moment. Okay. So when I put it
going over into that car right there.
Yeah, because the window is probably the coldest thing in the frame.
Okay.
So again, it doesn't see through glass. So that was kind of a disappointment when I started studying this thing. For the first time a few years ago. I'm like, oh shit, I wanted to kind of see through some windows. But glass is looked at as just a surface. I know, right? I was looking for the hanging man in one of our buildings. But again, it was actually, you could still investigate that piece. But back to this, when you get your video back, it just kind of helps direct your eye on where to look. Okay. So I am going to kind of stop the video. There you go. So I always bring my groups over here to explain their devices further. Normally goes a lot quicker when I have 10 or 11 people and I'm like, here's a device, here's a device, here's a device, kind of do a quick demo, and then I get them over here to show them how to actually use it. So this place has some history, which is part of the reason why we stopped, but it's very short. Obviously this is where we keep some of the horses for the carriage rides. So those windows are open, which is part of the reason why we use earbuds with the spirit boxes now. Okay. They don't like white noise. This place is the same red barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston, 1860s to 1920s, roughly. So keywords here, obviously being delivery, milk, eggs, and red barn. So spirit boxes, what's the first thing everybody wants to ask whenever they get some kind of communication device? What do you think? Ouija board, spirit box, you guys watch the TV shows. Yeah. What's the first thing they ask?
Are you here?
Are you here? Yeah. Exactly. So if somebody says no.
Or was that you?
And you hear it, that means somebody's here. Yeah. So we are not going after yes and no questions tonight. We do not get good paranormal evidence out of yes no questions. Okay. So again, we're going after specifics. Whenever I'm teaching people,
who is here?
If somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Yeah. I do that because you guys already know the answer to that one. Especially when you're first starting off with these, you want to try to get answers you already know the answers to. Sure. So again, you're using song lyrics and DJs to convey messages back to us. The word red might not be available for the ghost to use to be able to spit back to you. But fire truck, blood, heart, those three things are specifically red. Okay. So that would work for me. I'm okay with that answer. However, most of the night, I'm going to require that there's at least two things going on, whether it's from the same person, device, or not. Another example, you're using two spirit boxes, which is going to make things nice and simple. So let's say the word list gives us the word art. That doesn't mean anything over here to us, at least not to our location. But then you hear the number 40 on the other one. Put them together, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you see where this is more of an escape room and you're putting clues together? Yeah. Okay. So again, that's and I'm going to be using the Ouija board piece, and you're going to give us readings from time to time with the other device. So with your camera, it's very simple. You're going to keep things nice and slow for us. It's nice and easy to watch with the slower you go.
And this is the camera end
The camera's on the bottom left.
On the bottom left, okay.
So try not to hold it by the camera, but you're going to try to do two things for us. I don't think I have to say this to this group. You guys seem like you're very responsible, but we're going to be in spaces where there's parked cars. People don't like their cars to be filmed. So again, we're going to be... And I get those teenagers that are like, wow, look at that guy's car. I'm like, oh, dude. He's like, look at the engine. It's hot. I'm like, I know. Don't film the car. But at the same token, you're going to try to keep one of us in view if you can. We're a much smaller group tonight. The reason for it is because we're the warmest thing out here. So if we're 97 to 99 degrees, it's going to give you that array of color on the screen. Much easier to find a cold spot. The other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out of view if you can. Okay. So the reason why is the blue dot that's bouncing around helping you guys out defaults to the sky because there's no surface. Oh. So again, some places that's going to be impossible. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Looking for it like...
Yeah, straight ahead or a little bit down, at least a little bit angled down. You'll get used to it as we kind of move along.
All right.
So... I think that about covers the basis of, let's go get into some real history instead of ponies and football players.
Okay. Ponies and football players.
A little bit of a training exercise.
Yeah.
So you said you had other tours planned?
We haven't booked anything yet. We were worried about the weather, and tomorrow doesn't look too smack at all.
Saturday, I want to say we're supposed to be 80% rain.
Yeah.
For most of each day.
Not good. Yeah, like a couple inches of rain or something.
Well, especially west. I don't know how much rain down here today, but I've seen some flooded puddles, and there are some times when it gets really heavy down here that you can't even cross one of these streets.
Oh man. And we were actually thinking about that when we were thinking about driving. Like, where are we going to go the rest of this week? Yeah. I get we wanted to go to John's Island. So is that safe to do when it's raining? Got choices.
Just
check
look,
it out.
Just look.
I want to see the Angel Oak for sure.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Please out.
Yeah, the big Angel, she's got to see it,
Yeah, it is one of those places where, and I get weird EMF detection over there too.
Do you?
Yeah, so they say it's haunted. I did read the history of it. I couldn't find anything relative to any spirit box recordings that I did over there or anything, but it is gorgeous just to see it. It is a giant, giant tree. So, and they actually have a lot of it roped off now. The first time I went, when I first moved down here, you could walk right up to it, no problem. And now they've got it gated off with security around it.
Wow.
So I don't know if something happened or if something went awry.
Protected.
Yeah, which is a good thing. So where the heck are we? We're in a parking lot. Congratulations, you made it. Speaking of which, where did you guys park?
We took Uber.
Oh, perfect. So it makes things nice and easy. So where are you staying? You staying down here?
Hampton.
Okay. So it won't be too. I actually want to take a pedicab. Probably be cheap.
A who?
A pedicab.
Oh yeah,
Like
we took one of those yesterday.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
probably be a little bit cheaper than an Uber. So it's a nice cool night. So, but anyway.
But it's safe at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
This place, what is it? It used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion. So this would be the first
parking lot.
The layout of this was where the mansion sat in front of the lot, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant over there and came all the way across. And we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home.
Okay.
So,
wow.
First off, this is the first place I'm going to withhold information on purpose. Let's get into what this place actually does for us. So Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. Do you see why we look for that secondary verifier now? We need to know which Chuck we have. So in a nutshell, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a big deal for us. However, I hate politics. It's 2022 and nobody wants to talk politics.
That's right.
We're going to talk about Eliza. She has a way cooler story anyway. Eliza married Charles at a young age, according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So if we're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, we're not going to get numbers like 12 and 14. We're going to get numbers according to today's standards. The reason of course, we started talking about politics. But what's funny is most of the Pinckney men were politicians. So we may get governors and mayors and that kind of thing. So it does occur from time to time. Just depends on who's here. Eliza married Charles because her father was over in England where they're from, and he thought he was dying. So he was trying to bring all of his kids home one last time. Well, Eliza didn't think he was dying. So instead, she stayed put and got married. In 1744, she didn't marry him for a green card. We're not even a country. So she did marry him out of love. The only reason I bring up the age gap, by the way, between the two of them was because Charles was over double her age. It was kind of a creepy age gap back then. Definitely a creepy age gap now. So just kind of keep that in mind. Back to her father's death, he did not die right away. Instead, because Eliza was right, he started sending her gifts, apologetically, from England to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Now, you guys have been in town long enough, you've seen the word indigo somewhere. This is where it started for us.
Cool.
At least on a cash crop scale, because indigo was already here from the Gullah slaves. But Eliza didn't know what to do with this indigo when she got it, so she learned from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not always hot here, as you Carolinians already know. So once she figured it out, she moves it to another plantation just south of here and by the Stono River. So you're going to be down there near the James Island area. So when you piece all this together later on, you're like, oh, that's where Eliza made the cash crop. Then she gets a hold of her father and says, our rice plantations are going downhill in price. We're going to make a killing with this indigo. I just need some contacts. So now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. This is a huge deal. So it's just something absolutely unheard of for the time. That's her business. That's the boring stuff. Let's get into the weird stuff. That's why the two of you are here. So there's going to be a series of questions. Normally because like I said, I have 6 different spirit boxes. I normally assign series of questions. So we're going to ask whatever fits your fancy. So let's kind of go through the questions. Obviously, the marriage questions of how old she was and how old Charles was. The mansion's not here anymore. We can ask what happened to it and what year that happened. How many children she had and what their names were. We don't want to poke the bear any further with that one because there's a tragedy among the children. If we poke the bear, all activity will stop. So I'm curious to see if we've actually gotten any activity. I sure can.
I got a portrait.
I'm going to be showing you a portrait of her later.
Okay.
So
portrait.
It's vague. I want to see how much more it comes up with. Because again, you'll see even in my notes, I'll say when things are pretty vague. So where was I? Oh, the children, their tragedy, we just don't poke the bear. So if we're getting readings from the other device that she's trying to find, then, those will stop if we start making Eliza angry, and we don't want to do that.
Okay.
Eliza's death is where she's pretty open. We can ask her how old she was, where she died, what she died from, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Yeah, that should show you how important this young lady was.
Okay.
So,
I feel very self-conscious. Will you ask some questions?
I will.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Some people like to just, because you gotta remember, I have 6 different types of spirit boxes. So some people either just focus on it, and I normally have people just spread out.
Okay.
So that way we can kind of explore the space. But we can hang out back here, because I'm actually gonna bring out that little Ouija board. Now, at times we will get a little bit of an interference from anything that's going on with the slaves that may have lived here, and I don't have any records of them, nor can I prove anything about them, because there's no records. So again, we'll kind of see what goes on. I don't have any...
Someone just said someone.
Someone? Have you heard anything come out of that guy yet?
Not really. Just that was a woman's voice. It was very different from...
You said someone?
Yeah, someone.
So I'm going to be writing down the things that you hear.
Okay.
So that way they'll go in your notes for tomorrow morning. Did you find that other device? Can we kind of see if we have a reading from you?
Yeah. This one, or are you talking about this one?
The one with the numbers on it.
My pocket. Hold on.
Itself.
Okay. Eliza, can you tell us what happened to your beautiful mansion that was here?
Ooh.
Yep, you found it. That's the red light.
And I'm hearing a woman's talking.
So as far as the voices go, you have to remember they're using radio stations to convey messages. Gender usually doesn't matter unless it's a disembodied voice. And those are a rarity. All that crap they show you on TV, I get about 4 or 5 of those a year, not 12 an episode.
Okay.
So.
So I'm listening for the verbiage versus the
you got it.
gender. Okay.
It's about the message. It's like Bumblebee from Transformers. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Okay. Bad reference. Sorry. It's usually the best way to explain it. Eliza, do you want to tell us what happened to the beautiful mansion that was here? And I'll go through the same question through a series of times. Just to, if we're not getting an answer about it, then I'll move on to something else. Eliza, I brought this new box a couple of times with the white letters on it.
Panic.
Panic. But we really want to keep this one simple tonight, Eliza. Just tell us what happened to your mansion, or if you want to tell us when it happened. So right now I have the letters IRSM, so I have a Mrs. in there. It's a little jumbled, but now the letter A showed up.
Ooh, blue. This had a big field of blue.
Same. This is definitely going up more.
Yeah, so the aesthetics of that mean? It's all part of the aesthetics. This thing growls and makes noises and all kinds of stupid bullshit.
Okay.
And again, it's trying to get the person using it to be excited. Think of this as kind of a college kid game.
Okay.
I just like it because it has a giant dictionary.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest I've ever seen, and I test out a lot of different apps. It's giving me a lot of like just weird mumbo jumbo.
Produce.
Or produce. Let them pull out, and then we're going to go up to that corner by that number 35 up there and see what we can get. Yeah, people don't like when they see us out here with a bunch of equipment. I got 10 people spread out. Yeah, because I have another crazy camera that is a little like Ghostbustery looking.
What the hell are you doing?
Yep. People always like stop and say, "What are you doing out here?" Yeah, this is a weird spot, but it's a good one. All right, let's get to that corner.
Okay.
See what we can do. Any numbers showing up out of that other device?
0.1.
Okay. Big fat nothing.
Yep.
Alright, Eliza, let's see what we can get over here.
It's just going up. 0.4, 0.7, 0.6,
Yeah,
0.9.
2.5 and higher.
Alright, okay. Wow, 12.5. It just went down. 3.3. Nope, not now.
Hearing anything else coming out of there?
Nope. That was a big spike here, 12. Oh, whoa, 13.8, right here.
Okay. We keep escalating it, so I'll only give you numbers above 13.8.
11.6.
I'll take your 11.
9.2.
Is it, when you go back over there, does it go back up?
For a second, and then it stops.
You just give me all the letters that form indigo.
Really?
I'm asking her to. So far she's given me ING.
Okay.
So those are 2 letters in indigo.
Right.
So again, I'm trying to teach her how to use it. She just got to get close to it. When the letters come by. It just depends on the location of where we are. Nope, we're not leaving yet, Eliza. Let's go along with when is your birth? How about that? What's your holiday? 40? What?
I couldn't, it was 40 something.
Okay.
What did you say his number was? 42?
No, that was another, that was just an example.
40 something.
40 something is something relative to here. So you're going to give me the last part of it. Any other numbers coming up?
Nah, 0.1, 0.3.
Little guys?
Nothing.
Let's go to the other side real quick. We'll try that over there. Come on over, Lynn. Let's try over here.
Power.
Power?
It's just like, oh, it's just a little pop.
Alright, Eliza. Fresh set of letters. You can spell out indigo or anything else you want us to know before we leave the space.
Gordon. It almost sounds like Gordon. Gordon.
Gordon?
so hard to tell if I'm just picking up a radio station or...
And again, remember, that's what you want.
Yeah.
So if those radio stations are coming through, it's a 50-50 shot. Basically, if we can collect as many voices as we can, so even if you hear, buy a Kia today, I want to know that you heard buy a Kia today.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's really what we're after, is trying to just collect a bunch of it to see if there's actually anything kind of...
Okay. We've never even met.
Okay.
That's why.
Zero down.
That's pretty common. I won't write that one down.
I want to make sure if there's anybody.
Anybody what, Eliza?
Whoa, 28.
Good.
Tender.
What else do you have? Restaurant beginning like 2000s roughly, and they tore it down. This isn't giving me anything at all.
So why would Eliza still be here even though her house is not there?
Huh? You're getting ahead of the game again.
Oh,
Okay, I'm going to cover
okay.
it. This isn't giving me anything, so I'm actually going to turn down the sensitivity. And we'll kind of give you the answers to all the stuff. So you can turn your volume down if you like.
Yes, that would be
I
good.
want to take a just your word list just to make sure one of the hidden things that I'm... Yeah, it could be a lot. Yeah, I don't see anything. But we'll kind of see how that actually goes. So I like to look at that thing when I'm with a fresh set of eyes in the morning too, because sometimes I miss something. So the answers. We'll start off, I guess, with Eliza. You can stop your video too. So if you hit that red square on your screen.
This one.
Yeah.
Did you get any words? Did you hear anything?
Just Jack. I hadn't been listening.
Just Jack's. Yeah, it's okay. So that's why we record everything, so that way you can take breaks, and I'm going to go through it again tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
So not a big deal. So we're in Lodge Alley. So this place, when we crossed that last crosswalk coming down the street, that's where the original Charlestown Mall used to be. So it went up Cumberland Street, and we're going to be there shortly. But I like to bring you guys here because this is one of the first streets we ever had. So I have the full list of residents, and the funny thing is, it came from an archaeological dig report of where I got the names from. So it's a very interesting list because these two giant buildings weren't here. They were little tiny shotgun houses. So I don't think I have to explain what those are to you guys. It's pretty awesome. You normally have to go through an explanation.
Lived in New Orleans, yeah.
But these people, like, it's not a lengthy list because only 2 to 5 people live down here at a time. But you guys always tell me the same 2 names every 6 to 7 weeks. Those 2 names are Benjamin and John. So again, Benjamin and John, I don't have a whole lot of information about them other than the fact that they both lived here at the same time in 1801. There were 4 different Johns that lived down here. He likes to give us his last name as well, Johnson. No idea.
I said New Orleans. It's known as Nola.
Nola. Close but no cigar, I guess. So, but again, here's the reason why I think those 2 names keep popping up for you guys on those spirit boxes. We're standing on Belgian blocks. To my knowledge, they're made out of granite. Hopefully you'll give me a little bit of insight if you know anything more about them. They've been here, as far as we know,
tell.
This Power Act is 1739.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the stone tape theory basically states that any natural rock that's been in the same space for a long period of time, say a few hundred years, is said to hang on to the memories of the things that occurred here. So, in a nutshell, it's like we're watching a movie on a loop. Every 6 to 7 weeks, those two names will pop up. Again, we get weird things down here. The other interesting thing was when I was doing this study on this, and I keep showing you guys how this actually works, is granite is not supposed to have an electrical charge to it at all. So I'm sure you already knew that already. So, with that said, I normally place the device directly on a brick. Anyone, just pick one. Yeah, just pick one. Pick any brick as long as it's dry.
Okay.
We should get up to a 1.1 because that's natural from the earth. We have a 4.8, was the highest one I saw. 4.6, looks like it's dropping one by one. But again, we're gonna let it
That's crazy.
Yeah, like that's actually a high reading for this location.
Yeah.
Now back at the Pinckney Mansion site, I didn't explain fully what all these charges actually mean. And I'm going to go through that here just because we're actually getting readings out of these. But again, I've seen that go all the way to 15 on certain brick, like certain parts of that 6 to 7 week loop. It's dropping down to 4.3. Now we're back to 4.4. So it's like we're steady 4.3, 4.4. So again, not supposed to have anything popping up out of there. I'll go ahead and pick that up. Having readings in this location is always anomalous, but I don't always expect them because we're not in that 6 to 7 week loop right now. Right now we're on week 3 of that loop. I'm not expecting Benjamin and John's name to pop through, but I always listen just to be sure. Now the Ouija board did spell out the name Ben directly as soon as we entered the alley a few nights ago. We're outside of the loop, so it was kind of a weird anomalous thing. We also had up to, I think it was a 7 that showed up on the millimeter. So I was pretty excited that we had the name and we didn't get John's name too.
Monitor thin.
Monitor thin?
It went monitor and now thin.
Now thin. Before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, which is why it has the name Lodge Alley.
Okay.
So we do get terms wrapped around the Freemasons as well. So we'll get symbols, Mason, Freemason, but we've also gotten Founding Father has come up in this location, and the term Illuminati. The funny thing about Illuminati is that I don't say anything, and as you guys are entering, it always occurs as we enter. 6 times last year alone, 3 times so far this year. Now my question is we're listening to radio stations. Who the hell is talking about the Illuminati on the radio?
Yeah.
Why are we only getting it in this space?
6,000 in the number at the end.
6,000. Trying to put a relation to it. Now again, there's not a whole lot like that we can actually sit here and investigate with unless we are going to spend a lot of time. Just to kind of make sure what it is. Now the next space we're going to is another alley.
Okay.
However, what I'm going to tell you about that alley is we're not going to go all the way through it like what we're doing here is because I've been kicked out. So it is residential at the end.
Oh, okay.
When I first started doing this, kind of unbeknownst to me, I was taking people all the way down to the edge of the alley. And I'll explain that story once we get there because it's more funny when you hear the story. But I always kind of do a little quick cut-in just to kind of see like what's going on, and that way it's a staple for Charleston. You take any ghost tour, any history tour, and they're all going to tell you about that duel that occurred at that alley. But I do want to go into the readings with that millimeter real quick, just before we leave the space.
Okay.
At the Pinckney Mansion site, I normally see an average spike of 18 to 22. So your 12 and 13 were good, but it wasn't like super like, oh my gosh, check this out. To me at least, because I see so much of it. Now, that thing behind your television, where there's all the wires and whatnot, is going to read about 40 to 60 milligauss of electricity in the air around your TV while it's running.
Somebody just kicked out. I'm serious.
I'm sure you are. That's why I'm writing it down. If you were standing next to a running microwave, then that thing would go all the way up to about 150 to 170.
Okay.
Now, the highest I've ever seen that device go was at the Pinckney Mansion site at 214 milligauss.
Holy shit.
Like, we left.
Holy smoke.
Yeah, it was one of those
Did
cases.
you...
Oh, excuse us.
Oh, sorry. Did you catch anything on any of the other equipment at that point?
We left. It is.
Yeah.
I'm a guy with epilepsy. That's dangerous levels for me to be around.
Sure,
so,
okay.
again, we left pretty quickly. I told them the answers. Let's get close. We're going to see what else pops up with that. That's an interesting one.
Okay.
But yeah, I like to explain those milligauss readings back at the Pinckney Mansion because that is where the highest I've ever seen it go. The second highest was in St. Augustine. I was at the lighthouse, and it went all the way to 197. So, and that 214 was caught just this past, like at the beginning of summer, so like May, June area. So again, I saw it with my own eyes. I looked at it, I was like, did you just see the same number I did? It was like 214.2 or point whatever. And I'm like, yeah, we need to go.
I'm sorry, somebody just said death too.
It's a good one. You got anything on the word list?
Judge still.
Still judge. Judge is somewhat relevant as we're getting closer to those other places.
Which way are we going? That
We're going to go that way.
You know what? My stomach's not right. I think
really?
Something I need to go find a bath.
Oh, restroom?
Closest one is going to be, we passed by Max.
Pendant.
Max?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pendant.
I'll be right back.
We're going to be, you want us to wait here?
Well, where are you going to down there?
Yeah, that's where we were going to go.
Yeah, okay. I'll meet you down there.
Yeah, go to Cumberland Street. You'll find us over there.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Pendant.
Just go right in there, and I'll take the camera and kind of
Thank
help
you.
out.
I can't.
It's a lot. It's a lot to handle. You guys were talking about oysters you ate earlier, and then she wasn't feeling well. But I caught orbs down here with the other camera. Oh yeah.
So what's your theory on those?
So I did a study on them just because they're fascinating as far as color. Oh, that's interesting.
Graduate.
The orb.
Yep.
That's a huge reading for here. We don't normally see a lot of anything in this alley as far as EMF goes. So the quick story of this place is, like I said, this is a staple for every Charleston ghost tour. Like everybody comes through here. I'm surprised there's nobody here now, just to be honest with you. So this used to be where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. The story we all tell is the same. However, I give you different details because we're ghost hunting. Different things pop up than a normal campfire ghost story. Here's how it goes. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She's an attorney, helping her out with that cash. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. Dr. Ladd moves to Charleston to prove that he's not after her money. He wants to start his practice down here and make his own. So he comes down here. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a good start for Dr. Ladd to come to Charleston. But somebody was walking by. He saw what was going on because he knew the coachman was trying to set him up. His name is Ralph Isaacs. I stop on Ralph because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. R.I. shows up here even before I got the Ouija board device. So,
which do you think it is?
It depends on the other clue that we'll get.
Okay. Groaning.
We are in Jules Alley.
Okay.
So,
again, big
goosebumps. Ralph tells the doctor, you don't want to go in there. He's got a gunman that's going to try to kill you. I have some friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay there and you'll be safe. Dr. Ladd took him up on the offer. They're now friends. The longer the doctor stays in Charleston, the more money he's making. So he becomes known as the Whistling Doctor because Amanda's moving down soon. Now, every haunted city has a cliched whistling ghost. When you're listening to your audio, listen for very faint whistles in the background. They will can come through.
Are you serious? Okay.
Yes. And what's funny is even on your spirit box that you're listening to, we'll get songs with whistling in it. So like moves like Jagger, you know, anything, the old Guns N' Roses song Patience, like we will hear songs with whistling in it with another clue relative to the doctor. Back to him though. Him and Ralph go see plays together but the doctor can't sit next to his friend because he makes more money. He gets better seats. So they talk about these plays on the way home. One night they went to go see Richard III from Shakespeare. Dr. Ladd thought the new actress in town was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. Turns into a very heated argument when Ralph starts insulting Amanda, the doctor's fiancée, back home, and they go their separate ways. Ralph being from here puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a disgrace to society.
Oh
kind
my
of shit.
goodness.
Jeez.
Dr. Ladd sees the ad, rebuttals with, we're going to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this once and for all. So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn. The doctor points his gun in the air, and he's shot. He did not want to kill his friend. He just needed the courage and bravery to show up to the fight and hopefully end the argument. But Ralph has his one shot left. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor, not the thigh.
Not the thigh.
Not the thigh. So the doctor drops to the ground. His friends pick him up and carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he died 10 days later. Excuse me. He died 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. He's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed the bullet out himself. So again, the campfire part of this is as you walk through here, you can hear the whistles from the doctor. If you're going to walk around the city tomorrow and try this on your own, because again, I can't take you all the way through. I'm going to tell you why here in just a minute. Keep in mind, every local knows the story. Anybody walking down Cumberland or Queen Street throws a whistle down the alley. I do it every night. So we're going to end at 1 block away, but my garage is that way. So I pass the alley every night. When my daughter's on the tour, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first. And especially since I got moved out of here, I like to throw off all the other tours. So here's how I got thrown out. This is the fun part. I used to take my tours all the way through, and I didn't have much equipment. So what I used to do is I would show off the bricks at the end of the alley because they're older than these bricks up here, because the alley was cut off. This is where they kept the livestock. So it was kind of like a wall here, so that way they could keep all the livestock for the city in one space. So those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint and fingerprint swipes at the end of the alley. And obviously you guys have picked up on all about the history, so it was a matter of like everybody needs to see this, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I would always point it out, but everybody wants to try to get a reading out of it. That kid's not staring at that damn brick in the afterlife. So one night, November 26th of 2020, my entire group was huddled around that one brick with the full handprint, and you could see it's small, it's child handprint. They're trying to get a reading. I'm trying to shoo them along. It's outside the dining room window of a beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. The gentleman who bought it just bought it weeks prior and seen us passing through several nights consecutively. He came out angry. My daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. We moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I didn't have a tour that night. I told you I worked in retail for over 20 years. I finally had Thanksgivings off. I worked for Walmart for a good portion of those years, so now you can imagine. Like, I'm definitely not working on Thanksgiving. The next day after that was November 28th of 2020. I told my team, I just got a phone call that morning that I'm not allowed to take you down there anymore, but we got to reroute or go down halfway. When I have my full groups of 10, it's not fair to them to try to work around 20 to 60 people down there. So I was telling the story outside of that white building over there, and I said, where we're going, I don't even believe the story, but we're going to see what happens. We're going to wing it. So somebody hears the name Anne before we left. I did not tell them we were going to be investigating the female pirate Anne Bonny. So I'm like, all right, maybe something is going to come up out of this. And I had been in the Powder magazine several times. Very vague, but we'll see what pops up with it. Once we get there, and I told what little bit I did know at the time about piracy, somebody else hears the number 300 out of a different spirit box. I didn't know what it meant until the next day when I'm doing the research. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her piracy. So now I keep taking you guys back up there. And since that year, I have read more damn books about piracy. I'm a vampire guy through and through. I did not want to learn anything about pirates. I have had to learn more about piracy, I can't even tell you, to try to piece together a factual piece of data around lore. So that's a very difficult thing to do. So I made sure I was cross-referencing things. Appearance, very interesting. So we're going to walk back out this way and head up towards the Powder magazine. You can keep filming if you'd like. We can just get some footage as we're kind of walking along. But the Powder magazine will be our last stop.
Okay.
So
this will be great to listen to tomorrow.
Yeah, even on the regular audio, if you hear, and it's not going to be that loud. It's going to be very faint in the background. I do have whistles that I can't debunk. Yeah. I have a lot that I know that are people walking by, but I also have a lot that I'm like, what the hell is that? Some people also say you can hear gunshots down here. I don't have any evidence of gunshots. Unless it's the 4th of July, which I stopped pouring on the 4th of July because everybody...
How many people do it? I mean, Dueler's Alley, so all the time?
Well, dueling was illegal. So they had to have several spots around the city where quarrels can be handled. And of course, they were going by, this is the 1780s with the Dr. Ladd story. So you have to imagine they're probably still going by the old Irish and English rules of dueling.
Okay.
So.
Did you get it again?
3-7. Which is still noteworthy. It's definitely not an 18. I just happened to look
Was
down.
that where your 18 was? No, your 18 was further down.
It was closer to that bushes, and I was just watching it along the way.
Radio.
Radio.
It says radio.
It says radio.
Does it want me to listen to the radio?
It does.
Mm-hmm.
So do I.
Getting cold spots.
No cold spots.
Do you want to listen to this?
No.
With that
It's all
video,
yours.
a lot of that is, watching it the next day, like when you get it back, because I upload it to YouTube, so you can watch it however you want.
Oh, cool.
Whether it's on TV or...
It's going to make us sick. Spring. When you were speaking. St. Philip's Church.
That's the big steeple over there. St. Philip's.
Oh, wow.
We're actually going to be over here. But yeah, if you're a picture taker, and we are
it's
at a
beautiful.
97% full moon tonight.
Is that right?
So,
Perfect.
Oh, wow.
I was kind of hoping, a lot of times on a full moon, it'll land right next to the steeple.
Oh, very cool. Politician.
There you go.
Who is a politician?
You guys can have a seat if you want, kind of take a load off.
Yeah.
We're going to be here for a few. Kind of go through the history, and then we're going to explore the space a lot like what we did with the Pinckney Mansion site. So,
Oh, I might not get up.
that guy there.
Alcohol.
Alcohol is good here too.
That's right.
We're going to be talking about pirates.
He might be.
Listen,
Yeah, we get weird things going on with the camera in this location.
you might. Look at the lights and all that.
Do you want to know why every ghost tour goes to St. Philip's before we start talking about pirates? So
Why?
They all go over there. That's their big grand finale.
Over here?
Yeah. The reason why is because
Cause.
there's two different cemeteries that are connected to St. Philip's Church. On the eastern side, where they are, there's a sign right inside that says there's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost.
Ah.
So here's how that story goes. It's really, really quick. They make it some big, long, dramatic thing. That sign is there for a reason. And that sign is there because a woman died in the year 1888 by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. Now the funny thing about Sue is we get her initials over here, even when we're not next to the grave over there. But she died 6 days after her stillborn child.
Oh,
Very sad
gosh.
story. But
Yeah.
1987, local photographer's taking pictures of all the cemeteries. He's putting a book together. He captures an apparition in one of his photographs. So the apparition, however, what they won't tell you, is actually cursed. Any female that handles it will get the same symptoms like what we talked about at the beginning, the headache, the nausea, the dizziness. So again, whenever I show this picture, I say, don't touch my damn tablet. I don't need couples here on their honeymoon that obviously they touch the tablet and 9 months later I curse their family. So
Jeez.
with it being 1987, that photographer sent this photograph over to Kodak. I don't have to explain
Jack.
what Kodak is. You have Jack? That's probably the best piece we've had all night.
Jack.
Jack. We're going to talk about Jack.
All right.
Now, so he sends this to Kodak. Kodak doesn't know what to do with the photograph either. So for guys like me, it's gold. Like, you can't mistake what you're actually looking at. So this is the picture that he took.
Oh my gosh.
There's your apparition
Yeah.
of a woman praying over her own grave,
Oh my
Absolutely.
God.
and the baby basket's next to her. This is also an instance where the baby's probably buried with mom. I can't find the records for this child from the church. So this is her grave, by the way, and the census records of where her and her husband lived have been destroyed in a fire. So of course I was trying to get a leg up on the other tours, like, hey, maybe I could find where she lived, at least a plat of land and get close to it,
Yeah.
you know, and that kind of thing. So,
That's wild.
Don't touch it.
but again, even when you look at this on a computer and you like dive into the baby basket here, the weaving is clear. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, that's what got me. It's not so much the detail of a person. Like, I've seen apparitions of people. It's that damn basket right there. So, this happened.
Interesting.
She died June 16th of 1888. So, on her, I always tell that story a little bit more in detail around that death date, because we will get a little bit more into it.
Wow.
So, that's why they're all over there. I let them have their show and tell. Obviously, my show and tell is with the gadgets in your hands, because it's way more fun than just on the lonely picture.
So who's Jack?
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
So, building, Powder Magazine.
Yes.
We'll make the history portion of this building very quick, and we'll get straight to the pirates. We're here because this building is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. It held gunpowder for 7 different wars, including the Civil War.
Oh my gosh.
We're just inside the inside of the Charlestown walls. So the wall actually ran up Cumberland Street. We're right next to it. This is this far back to keep it protected from any pirate ships or Revolutionary warships that are going to attack it from the water that way, basically where you were standing trying to find us. So again, the distance was too far. Sorry, I'm going to heckle you a little bit.
No, go right ahead. It's all good.
If the cannons at least try to make it this far, it's going to have a hard time making it up here. But if it does, the walls are 3 feet thick, so it's hard to get to that gunpowder. The cool thing about this building's layout is that underneath those red shingles you see, there's sand that was put there during construction. So that way, in the event it did get hit and the gunpowder exploded, the sand goes up and falls to put out the fire of the gunpowder. It's never been attacked, so that sand is still there. But it doesn't work. We had another powder magazine closer to the peninsula, much closer to the water. Did get hit, the sand went up, but the building burned to the ground. So it doesn't exist anymore. Let's talk about Jack. So the story begins in the middle of this building's construction. This building took 10 years to build. It doesn't sound like our government, small building, 10 years? No,
Yeah, right?
So follow me, there's a lot of twists, and you guys are pretty savvy, so I'm going to move through this pretty quickly so we can get to the details. 1708, a young lady named Anne Cormack moves here from Ireland. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Got that so far?
Yeah.
The 3 of them are running away from his angry wife. Yeah, just putting that out there. They land in Georgetown. Dad bought a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. So that means he has to send young Anne down here to sell anything from that plantation to keep things afloat. Now, young Anne back home in Ireland, kind of a badass chick. When she was yay high, probably 8, 9, 10 years old, they say she killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly. So you did get puncture. But again, I don't have belly along with that. So you have thigh. So
And that was back over there, too.
We will get bleed over from Philadelphia Alley here.
Oh, okay.
So there's this story, there's 15 stories on this corner.
Productive.
The moon's starting to come through. I'll let you know if I see it.
Oh, yeah.
So, fast forward, this building's done in 1713. Pirates are coming through Charlestown in 1715. Anne's going to fall in love because she wants her freedom, just like a man. So, first guy she falls in love with, James Bonney. You already see where this one's going, right? He's a filthy pirate. By the way, I said first guy because there's a handful. We're going to talk about all of them. Dad didn't approve because he's a pirate. So they run away to Jamaica, they get married. Anne Cormack is now Anne Bonny, the famous female pirate. However, this is not Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for, because every young lady wants a Captain Jack Sparrow. This guy is a spy. He's a privateer. He's a spy for the British. This is not who she wants. He's a coward. A few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2, John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is literally the Captain Jack Sparrow that they based the Captain Jack Sparrow character off of. So this is the real person. So this is the Captain Jack Sparrow she was hoping for, but he has his own ship. And you can't put a girl on a pirate ship. Do you know why?
Bad luck.
Bad luck, right. So, he makes a deal with her. If you dress like one of the crew, like a man, you could be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because she just wants to be a pirate. It's a man's world. Not to mention, Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So, he dressed her up as a boy apprentice. So again, whatever, let's do this. But being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's, a female, obviously. So, Jack drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby over here. I don't know who this is. He says,
That's me. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
See how this goes. Maybe you did bring somebody. We'll see. But go have the baby in Cuba, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but doesn't come back with the baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. I have dug and dug and dug. I cannot find anything that says what happened to that specific child. But she comes back dressed like a female. This makes Jack pretty angry. And while she was away giving birth to his child, he captured another pirate crew, and she's going to slow footage here, and we can just chill here for a few and kind of see what goes on. The cool thing about this guy, that motion sensor, is this guy is usually where we get the reading from. We can ask Anne Bonny her hair color. And what she does is she shows us. The only time I've ever gotten a direct red was in this space. And that was by asking a spirit box what her hair color was, and she showed us instead. So I was very, very happy about that. We have the letter P, then what? PZ.
PZ.
I don't know. And if you are here, oh, look at that. Break out your cameras.
It's gorgeous.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Alice, no.
There's the letter N. There's actually 3 Nicholases relative to this space. I see that. That comes up often. And I don't have an Alice anywhere that I've looked into. I even checked like cemetery records over there. Which, by the way, your 7th Vice President Calhoun that we talked about earlier, he's buried on the other side of that wall. So that's where Jackson comes into play. Because sometimes we'll hear Andrew as well somewhere.
Okay.
But back to the 3 Nicks. Me being the first one, the judge of the Anne Bonny story, but on the other side of Powder Magazine is the cottage of Nicholas Trott. So sometimes we get 3 N's. We've been getting that on the Ouija board.
Okay.
Because there's 3 of us. Or we'll just hear the, hey, Nick. And again, that could be relative to any one of us. I also like to point out that Charles
Mark.
Pinckney, you heard Mark? Mary Reed's pirate name.
Ah, that's right.
Hmm.
Okay.
Again, I can't make this shit up. I wish I did.
Wow. You've got goosebumps. You're feeling it.
I get goosebumps all over. Yeah.
So Eliza's husband and the nephew are buried across the street. At times, we will get things relative to some of the things that they did to the Constitution, or we'll get clues around Eliza Lamb Pinckney, who's also buried across the street.
Wow.
Huh.
That's the first wife. So again, we get... Oh, that thing's going nuts. Well, if you look at B-E-E-N, we have the word bin.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, King Charles III. That's the new king.
It is, but I just told you that Charles Pinckneys are buried across the street. So that's a definite
Twist.
win. That's on your... Oh, I don't have to write that one down. King Charles III.
Whoa.
What was that?
I don't know.
You okay?
Yeah.
Ears pop?
No. There's just an instance where there's like 3 people talking over each other, which is not what
Normally happens.
Yeah.
I did capture a disembodied voice last week. I was super excited about it. It was at the Pinckney Mansion site, which is normally where I capture those. And it said, have the party come in. Like over 5 different radio stations, because you know I analyzed that to make sure it's legit.
Yeah.
Have the party come in.
Wow.
I still don't know what it meant. It was definitely the same voice I've caught there in the past that was disembodied, because it's very monotone. Oh, you're getting a lot of letters.
I know, it's going nuts.
I would love it if Anne Bonny were here.
Now, this is a
Or
hit or
Mary
miss
Reed.
location. I like that Mark came through.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mary, you gave us your pirate name. Can you tell us what your last name is? Or maybe where you came from? I'm okay with that too. Thanks, I see the word die.
Yeah.
D-I-E. Right in a row.
Huh.
And you can show us what color your hair is. That box is right here on these bricks. Just touch that metal stick like you did for us a few weeks ago. Just all over the place.
It is. It's going crazy.
I think we need a clean slip.
Right?
it also gives us all kinds of different options. So the next one is yes, no, which you've already realized I hate yes, no questions.
Yeah.
The next one gives us numbers, but it doesn't save them like it does for the letters.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one is emojis, because, you know, ghosts know what emojis are.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Didn't you know that?
So I like using the letters and the numbers.
Present.
Okay. Who's present? Mary, we want to know what your last name is. Your surname, madam, if you please. And you guys, if you like really think back to all the stories we talked about, you got to see me during Women's History Month. Like, I'm a huge hit. Talk about Eliza, the female pirates. Oh, the story I was kind of telling her before we met up with you again was at this location last September. I brought my group back here. I normally take them to the back wall just so I stayed away the other tours. And before I told the story, the kid next to me went white as a ghost. Like, I had to pick him up, like, by his armpit. And his boyfriend picked him up from the other side of him. We brought him to this wall, got him some water, he's feeling better. And then told him the story of Anne Bonny. And they didn't know the story yet. So when I spread everybody out with their devices, go have fun, it's our last stop, they pulled me aside and told me that they were two transgender males, meaning they were two females dressed as males.
Oh.
So I was kind of like, they make
I get
complete
mop and teacher.
Here's the interesting thing about the word teach. It shows up here often. When I tell you pirates, North Carolinians, who do you normally think of? What's the first pirate that comes to mind?
Teacher. What's his name? It was Teacher, wasn't it?
Blackbeard.
Oh, well,
His name was Edward Teach.
Teach. See, I knew this
Pride.
teacher, teaching.
So the word teach shows up here all the time. You got another one coming up?
Right.
And available.
Available.
Now, the other piece of that is depending on what the other words around it of what I'll catch on your recording, or around that, because there's a teacher that haunts Coogan's porch. And sometimes her name will pop up, something...
Gag. Gag. I was getting mop before on here.
If you think most pirates were hung, gagging, I mean, it's a stretch.
Yeah. Fish.
You getting anything?
Hello?
On
No, I thought that was.
there? Gum.
2H.
Yeah, nothing. Bunch of too many V's and U's for me. I mean, I'm good at word scrambles, but I'm not that good. I'll give it one more run. I'm excited about that teacher thing showing up, because again, that's usually a first
cool.
clue. And the name Edward will come up, or Beard, something that'll kind of give me a clue. And the reason I said, you know, calling you out as North Carolinians is because his story is in North Dakota.
I knew his name was Teacher or Teach or something.
Well, the British call him Thatch. English, or Americans, we call him Teach.
Yeah.
So just depending on which part of the world you're in. I haven't even seen anything pop up. I heard it. And there is Blackbeard lore here too, like close by. So any other things you're hearing?
Other than fish. No, I'm not hearing anything right now.
We're going to let that give us a whole nother set of letters, and then we'll call it. Because we're not getting much out of this, but I do like Teach, so I want to give them an opportunity to either give us their first name. We asked Mary what her last name was. And if you're here, tell us the name of your father. That would be fantastic.
You think they get tired of being bothered?
Sometimes. I got those messages.
Yeah.
But I always go back and make my peace right before the next tour.
Paisley. It's a very unusual word.
It is.
What does Paisley mean?
Yeah, what is the relation to Paisley?
Paisley.